In this video, I'm looking at this Compass Games game, The 9 Years' War, the War of the Grand Alliance. This uses the No Peace Without Spain system. I'm playing this next because it's a follow-up for me. I had completed playing No Peace Without Honor, which is on the Allied Dutch War. And so this chronologically is the next segment that would follow it. And so I'm going to go through some play, at least on video, of this game, The 9 Years' War. Uses, basically the same system with some minor rules tweaks. But we'll take a look at it, and we'll go down to the map. So the game starts in 1688, and this is a short turn. There are only 3 impulses. So there's also no events phase in any of those opening things. It just gets right into the action. So the French open up with the leader Vauban, and he moves with an army into Landau and then into Philipsburg, which is defended there by a garrison of 1 corps that goes into the fortress. Then they attempt to deploy the Bray fleet, but this fails. And then they have Boufflers move in Lille. And that's pretty much how they open. Then the Allies are going to take advantage of this advantage in the naval movement on the first 2 turns. So the Atlantic fleet is deployed and fights the battle and wins. So the Allies actually end up with control of the Atlantic, which is good. Then William III, with some of his troops, sail to London by sea movement, and the Brits end up avoiding battle to Dublin. So the victory points are at 16, and the British. I have to make the adjustments because of the Glorious Revolution. So this doesn't really award victory points, but it shifts the control of England to the Allies, and King James flees to Ireland. In round 2, the French open the siege at Philipsburg, and they're somewhat successful but at reducing the fortress, and they get a continued siege marker. And then William and Marlborough move to York, where they convert it, and then they move to Edinburgh, where the intention is to lay siege. Then in round 3, their siege at Philipsburg continues, and honors of war are granted to the Dutch troops there. Philipsburg falls, and the Bourbons gain a victory point, and this pushes us back to down to 15 victory points. Then the Allies have a siege at Edinburgh, which falls, and this provides 2 victory points to the Allies, so we move the victory points up to 17. And that's pretty much what happened during 1688. We go to 1689, and I had to resolve the King William's War, and the Bourbons get a +1, so that's a victory point, which drops it from 17 down to 16. Marlborough continues to survive as part of the Allied army, but the incapacitated general's card gets played, which affects 1 general on each side. Choice of the player that is playing the card, which is the French. So Noailles gets taken out of action for whatever reason, as well as William III, which I'm not sure if I could choose William III, but I did in my story, so that's kind of how it goes. Both sides have replacement points to expend. The Allies have a lot more at this moment, so that's what happens. And then Max Emanuel is promoted in Bavaria. I believe he is in Munich. And then Lorge is also promoted. He is in Philipsburg with another general in the French army. Then during the rounds, the French had Torban, who move to Koblenz, I think, and I made an intercept attempt by the Empire. It's a no-name general, but he failed. So the French get to where they want to be in position, and then the Allies have the some of the Austrians kind of conglomerate together in Trent to get ready for some possible action against the French. Then the siege at Koblenz continues in round two. Vauban again has advantages in sieges, and the fortress is zeroed out, and the French do suffer a loss, and the siege continues. The Allies in Trent move into Mantua, and they want to begin a siege there. Then in round three, the siege at Koblenz continues, and this time the fortress falls to the French. They get a victory point, which drops it back down to 15, I believe. The Allies, the Austrians, open up a siege against Mantua, but this has no effect, unfortunately. In round four, the French take some replacements. The Allies continue their siege at Mantua. It's somewhat successful, and the fortress is reduced down to 1 strength. And then in round five, the French just repositioned some corps with a move, and they moved one corps, I think, to Mainz and another one to Dunkirk. The one moving to Mainz, I tried to intercept but failed. And then the siege at Mantua rounds out by failing. It's the end of the turn, so the Austrian forces have to retreat back to Trent. Mantua is still Bourbon controlled. The victory points are at 15, and what you're seeing now is an overview at the end of the turn. And again, that was turn 1689. So now we're on to 1690, and this turn the Savoy become allies, and they join with that, and the Allies are getting decide to commit to King William's War to try to jump that thing back a little bit toward their favor. Marlborough remains active as an Allied leader, and then during events, Scotland rises. Pacified card is played, representing the Viscount Dunde's victory for the Jacobites, but in this case, Edinburgh is controlled by the Allies, so the Highlands convert to the Allies. I have no idea for sure if I'm supposed to give them the victory points for this or not, so I'm going to have to check later. I can always add them in later if it's necessary. Then the Allies play political intrigue at Versailles. This means that one of the French generals kind of falls out of favor with the king or government or whomever, and so the Allies decide to pick Vauban, who is so good at the siege, get rid of him, and he's removed. He'll come back into favor next turn in 1691, but for now, he's out of favor with Louis XIV. So the Allies expend their 6 resource points, the French expend their 3, and General Noailles returns from being disabled last time to Koblenz. He's going to basically replace Vauban for now. And then William III also returns into play. When I resolve the King William's War, the Allies actually win this time, and I'm able to jump a space to the 1 VP space, so that brings the victory points back up to 16. Then in round 1, the French leader Beaufleur moves into Ostend, and presumably he wants to start a siege there. The Allies have a strength point, a corps there, so they decide to join the garrison. Then the leader, the 03 no-named leader, French leader in Briançon, moves into Cunco in Savoy and is going to start a siege there. I'm not sure how that's going to go. We don't have a great leader. The Allies use a sea move to bring William III and some corps to Bergen, which they succeed in. And then the Austrian 03 leader in Trent again decides to try his hand at taking Mantua again. So he marches his forces in there. Then in round 2, Boufflers continues his siege at Ostend, and the result is a 1 loss for the attacker, 2 for the defender. So the fortress is now neutralized to 0 strength. The French do reduce one of their corps. Then the siege at Cunco, Savoy, is also extremely successful, and the fort falls. So the French get a victory point for that, moving the victory points back down to 15. Then in round 2 for the Allies, they begin their siege at Mantua, and this has no effect, no losses, just eating up time and resources. We go to round 3 of 1690, and the siege at Ostend continues. Boufflers has a bad result here of a 0-0, so nothing really happens. The Allies continue their siege at Mantua, and they have some success. The fort is reduced down to a 1 strength. The Allies also flip a corps. Then in round 4, the siege of Ostend wraps up with Boufflers having a success, and both sides take losses, but the honors of war are given to the Spanish unit, which retreats to Bergen, and then Ostend falls. It's worth 2 victory points, so this drops the VP down to 14, and it's a wealthy space, so this is going to add 1 to the replacement points of the French. They need it. Then the Allies continue with their siege at Mantua, and this is a good result on the chart. A 1 loss for the Allies, 2 for the fort, so the fort falls, and this is worth 2 victory points to the Allies, so we climb back up to 16. On round 5, the French just try to replace some of their losses, and the Allies' home empire moves troops into Liege and Namur, and that's pretty much how the turn wraps up. So this last picture here is an overview of what things are like at the end of 1690. The victory points, I believe, are 16, but I need to try to do some research to find out what happens in the Highlands. So I couldn't find the answer to the question on Board Game Geek, so I decided to just ask AI, and AI told me, no, it's a political event, so you don't get the victory points for it. So that's how I'm going to play it. If it's wrong, well, the Allies lose a couple victory points. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.